What if I told you that the entire global economy runs on the same logic as a scam? That every dollar you save, every pension you contribute to, every mortgage you pay, is part of a structure that can only survive if more people join beneath you, feeding money upward. That's not just a Ponzi scheme in some dark corner of finance. That's the operating system of the modern world. And here, as the hard truth, the only reason it hasn't collapsed yet is because governments and central banks keep feeding it new recruits, new credit, and new illusions. The question is not whether this system will break. The question is, who will be crushed when it does? To understand this, we need to start with what a pyramid scheme really is. It's not complicated. A pyramid scheme promises extraordinary returns, but instead of generating real value, it pays old investors with money from new ones. Charles Ponzi made the idea infamous in 1920 when he promised investors a 50% return in just 90 days. At first, he paid them back with new investors' money, creating the illusion of success. But the math was brutal. Every layer needed more people than the one before. Within months, it collapsed, leaving thousands bankrupt. A pyramid scheme is unsustainable because it requires infinite growth in a finite world. Eventually, you run out of suckers. Now here's the disturbing part. Strip away the legalities, and the global economy runs on the same logic. Governments borrow trillions, not from real value they've created, but from future generations who haven't even been born yet. Corporations take on debt to fund stock buybacks, enriching shareholders while pushing the bill into the future. And the money itself, it's not backed by anything tangible. It's created out of thin air every time a bank issues a loan. That's the part most people miss. The money in your pocket was never printed in the way you imagine. It was lent into existence. Under fractional reserve banking, when you deposit $1,000, your bank is only required to keep a small fraction in reserve. The rest can be lent out. That loan becomes new money, which can be deposited in another bank, which then lends out the rest again. From your single deposit, the system can spin out thousands in new credit. On paper, everyone feels richer. In reality, it's just layers of claims stacked on top of each other, like a pyramid. It only works as long as confidence holds. When that cracks, you get bank runs and collapses, just like we saw in the Great Depression, and again in 2008. This didn't happen overnight. After World War II, the US dollar was tied to gold. That system collapsed in 1971 when Richard Nixon closed the gold window. From then on, the global economy was built entirely on faith. To keep this system alive, governments had to promise growth forever. Growth funded by debt. Growth funded by inflation. Growth funded by your labor. Sound familiar? That's the structure of a pyramid scheme. Imagine pensions and Social Security. They don't come from a magical vault of money you paid in. They come from the contributions of younger workers paying today. That's fine if the base of the pyramid keeps growing. But in countries with aging populations, fewer young people are paying into a system that owes more and more to retirees. It's a demographic pyramid scheme, and the math doesn't work. Or, take the housing market. For decades, prices have been justified not by what homes are worth, but by what new buyers are willing to pay with borrowed money. Every boom feeds on new entrants at the bottom. But when affordability collapses, the base shrinks and the illusion cracks. And when it starts to collapse, that's when the real pyramid master shows up, the central bank. In 2008, when the housing pyramid crumbled, central banks worldwide printed trillions. They called it quantitative easing, but it was just pumping new money into the system to keep it alive. Old debts were paid with new money. Losses were socialized, while profits remained private. The pyramid didn't collapse. It was rebuilt, bigger, and the cost was pushed onto you, the taxpayer, through the slow erosion of your purchasing power. History shows this pattern clearly. The South Sea Bubble of 1720, the Great Depression of the 1930s, the Japanese asset bubble of the 1980s. Each case shows the same DNA, systems that required endless new money and endless new belief, until reality hit. The unsettling truth is that we've normalized the pyramid. We call it growth. We call it stimulus. We call it the economy. But if the system can't survive without constant injections of new debt and new believers, then maybe it's not a foundation at all. Maybe it's a structure built on sand. And maybe you and I are standing at the bottom, holding it up. This is why the pyramid analogy matters, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The global economy isn't collapsing yet because governments have tools Ponzi never had. The power to print money and enforce taxation. But the structure is the same. It requires endless expansion, and no pyramid can grow forever. So what's the lesson? First, stop believing the system is designed for your benefit. It's designed to protect itself, not you. Inflation and bailouts are not flaws. They are features. Second, understand that real wealth is in assets that survive outside of it. Skills, networks, tangible resources that don't vanish when faith collapses. The global economy may not legally be a pyramid scheme, but structurally, it rhymes with one. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And the rhyme here is clear. If you mistake a pyramid for a foundation, it will collapse under you. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.